Good morning, everyone. Welcome to Sandra P's Gen Extra. Welcome. Thank you so much for coming. Welcome. Mama B's, the moderator, is here, greeting everyone with the grand rising to Sandra P, Chats, and Mod. Thank you so much for being here during the live. Sharon Gabo, it is good to see you. I'm so glad to see you during my live. And she says, good morning to myself, the chat, and also to the moderator, Mama Bees. Thank you so much for coming in. Of course, this is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is a recap, opinion, and this is going to be season 6, episode 7, I believe, Above Deck and Below the Belt. So everybody come in during the live, please click the like button if you will. And if you're not already subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. It is sweatshirt weather here, so I'm in my Let's Be Clear. This is from Sirius XM, one of my favorite radio shows. Karen Hunter. You can also find her on YouTube, Karen Hunter Show. K Narrative or Narrative. It's pronounced Narrative. So what we do over there is just learn all kind of topics. There are book suggestions, everything. It's wonderful. A wonderful learning space. So we have Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, Above Deck and Below Belt. I'm going to tell you from the beginning because I always forget to rate it unless someone else is talking about how good it was or how bad it was. Then I'll remember to rate it. This is a 10. The episode is a 10. It has travel in it, conversations between all the ladies, jumping up, running around, beautiful location, 10, 10, 10. Okay, so we start out with an ocean view, beautiful ocean view. And then we hear one of the crew, Daisy, she's calling out to Jason. We see a floating unicorn in the Mediterranean Sea. This is all a preview before the episode even starts, y'all. And then we see a travel scene. The airport, we hear Captain Jason calling a mayday. So it's going to be chock full, everybody. All of the ladies show up to the airport. This is my favorite scene when they show up to the airport. Lisa is in flowy, comfortable looking pajamas, as is, I believe it was Whitney and Angie K. I liked how they were traveling. Mary was in a trench coat. Brittany had a trench coat on. That's a little more uncomfortable because they have a 15-hour flight, y'all. They have a 15-hour flight. And I actually wrote it down where they are going. They're going to have to go from Newark to Barbados to Cancun. So they have 15 hours of travel before they even get to this 4 days on the yacht. So this is a mess. Excuse my notes because I watched it all the way through once and then I took notes the second time, kind of filling in things. So we get Brownwyn gets a text. Brownwyn sends Whitney a text. Hi, sorry for the late notice. Not going to make the flight. Have a safe trip. Meet you in Cancun. So Whitney in a confessional, the green confessional dress look, she's saying, I'm not surprised she's late. It's due to headlines. Whitney's being messy. She said she can't win or lose. If she comes, we're going to talk about it. If she doesn't come, we're going to talk about it. This is true. Whitney's telling the truth, though it is very messy. They're waiting for Mary. Mary comes in the door carrying all this luggage. She looks overpacked for 4 days, but I think all of them are. So she hobbles in on her high heel boots. She comes into the airport. And Lisa and Meredith are me. They are already at the gate. So all the ladies, now they know Bronwyn is going to follow up later. All of them get on this flight with the exception of Bronwyn. So I like the little shots they do with their own personal phones. We see Brittany and Heather excited about the trip. Heather calls out to Mary, Mary, where we going? Mary doesn't even know where they're going. Mary Cosby, you're going to travel 15 hours and you don't know where you're going? I don't know what kind of wine it is either. I feel like it's in the Mediterranean because that is where Below Deck Mediterranean is. So that's where Captain Jason's yacht is. So we see, we hear from Heather that Captain Jason has already met Whitney and Heather. They spent about a week on his yacht. They cruised Australia with him. The producer asked what would Heather stock on an island if she was stuck on an island with just Captain Jason? Heather says bikini and condoms. Okay, Heather. You know Captain Jason is a married man, okay? Because all of these women, they come on there, they throw it at Captain Jason. I've never seen him catch it. but people are very attracted to the captains. We hear that Julia was trying to get something going with Captain Sandy, Real Housewives Miami, but Captain Sandy is a married woman as well. She has a wife too. So Lisa, they finally get there. They arrive. The staff is lined up. I love how they do that. Staff is lined up on the dock, greeting everybody. The ladies look pretty good for 15 hours travel. Lisa says to the staff with a straight face, she lies, I'm going to be your least maintenance guest, the lowest maintenance guest. And I was like, okay, they could believe that. Captain Jason says, welcome to his yacht. He's going to get them all wet and get them in the water. So the ladies start laughing. Y'all, Brittany is tee-hee-hee and all over herself. She's doing her little shimmy. Brittany's just hot in the pants. We had a touching scene last week where she's telling her daughter she's going to take time away. I'm going to get to know you. And now here she is. Brittany's a trip. So one of the other staff, I think it was the assistant to the captain, is like, oh, you mean the other way around? They all laugh. Brittany's thirsty. Lisa says, is there any, in a confessional, if there's any chance I get a chance to get on the yacht, pick me. I love it. And this will be nice for Angie because she's usually used to getting in RVs. So Lisa's already whacking Angie. We get a confessional from Angie that is saying, when I see Lisa, my happy, positive energy just goes wonk, wonk. But I could stand next to her and make my ankles look smaller. And she starts laughing. So already they're whacking each other. Now, why are y'all saying that about Lisa? Is she supposed to have ankles or something? I've never noticed, so I don't think they're that bad. So the ladies get on board the yacht. They get margarita shots. They start complimenting the server's accent. He speaks with a beautiful British accent. And Lisa is saying, after this shot, I'll take this one shot, and then I'm going to have only my own tequila, which I'll make sure you're stocked with. So I didn't get to see what Daisy's expression was. I don't know if Daisy loved that. Daisy was pouring drinks. Whitney asked after, what about a late guest? What if we've already taken off and the late guest arrives? Daisy tells her, don't worry about that. We can tender them to us. She's arranged everything. So she wants to tour the yacht. All the ladies follow behind. They have the jacuzzi area. They have the lounger, a dinner area. They have a deck out back with different sun loungers. Y'all know if you've watched Below Deck Mediterranean, this is a 3-story yacht. We see the crew outside shaking their head at all that luggage. They were like, this is our least favorite part. We hate this. And they said the ladies better make up for it in tips. You know, they get a stack of cash at the end for the tip that they split. That's one of my favorite parts. When I'm watching that and the captain gets that envelope, they love that part. So all the bedrooms are gorgeous. There's not a bedroom. The captain's suite is the one. Heather's like, okay, I'm going to pick that one. And she's hosting the trip. She should. Who's my roomie? Whitney's like, me. So Whitney is going to room with Heather. Meredith has requested a bathtub. So she and Lisa take a room with bathtub. And then Brittany is going to have to share with Bronwyn. And Britt's like, wait, I'm sharing with Bronwyn. What are we going to do trapped in the room? What if we fight the whole time? We might kill each other. And Lisa helpfully says, don't worry about it. She might not even show up. So that was kind of rude. And then we see Mary and Angie K have a room. Again, everybody's room was gorgeous. Heather is telling us in the confessional, reminding us that she and Whitney already know Captain Jason. So the ladies better be on their best behavior. Brittany says, I'm into the leader of the ship. So the ladies are laughing. You're supposed to be on a 30-day break. She's saying that's 30 days from Jared. So in the confessional, we get Brittany with her thirsty self saying, I was on a 30-day break, but then Jared helped me come over. He packed for the trip, and oh well. And she said, we're going to start 30 days from now. So you just have no self-control, huh? Olivia's heartfelt conversation didn't do anything to sway her mother. And here I was last week, so touched by it, saying, I believe Brittany. I think she was really upset. I think she's going to try. Now I don't know. I see why Olivia didn't really believe her. Whitney says, anytime you mention Jared, we're going to douse you with water. So they start laughing about that. And Meredith says, for once, I agree with Whitney. And y'all, this is going to come into play a couple of times. So Heather says, when Bronwyn gets here, make her welcome. We are not going to talk about any of these headlines, anything that's going on. We're going to give her time to settle in, mention it for herself. So Bronwyn's tender is arriving. The boat is pulling up to their yacht. Bronwyn says, I don't know what I'm walking into, Production shows Todd warning Bronwyn about, why are you going around Lisa and these ladies? Lisa and Angie K are talking. Angie K is like, what do you know? Lisa says, I don't know. What do you know? I know what you know. And they're each going, I know what you know. So they're kind of commiserating over Bronwyn. Confessional Lisa asks, why would you target me when you have all these skeletons in your own closet? I'm not saying karma. I think karma is overused, but it could be something like karma, but I'm not saying karma. I kind of agree. Sharon Gabo thinks Brittany is full of it. I think so too. I was trying to show her a little grace, but I think Olivia was right. So now Confessional Lisa, she's not saying karma, but she's kind of saying karma. Bronwyn, when she gets onto the yacht, she's wearing this yellow dress full of inflatables. Even the hat is like a floaty or something. It was kind of ridiculous, y'all. Usually I think she's a fashion plate, but Whitney says, is this fashion or costume? Bronwyn, that's how it looked. Bronwyn says, it's costume, it's fashion. So Britt tells her, we're in the same bed. And Bronwyn's like, I'm not Jared. We're not in the same bed. Whitney overheard her say Jared, and she starts splashing water on her. Y'all, this is not funny in people's clothes. Wait till you get your swimsuits on. But there they go. They start. Brittany is saying, I didn't say it. I didn't say it. Because remember, Bronwyn wasn't there when they came up with this rule. So we see Chef Ben in the kitchen. Y'all, Chef Ben is very prickly. When you watch him, Chef Ben doesn't play about the food. He is serving sliders. He has lobster salad. It looks really good. Whitney is showing the staff, this is my bag of valuables. Whitney, you do not pack all of your valuables in one bag. Hello? As one of my jobs is to look for missing luggage. That is the worst thing you should do. So Heather is joking. I'm missing a nipple cover. Ask Captain Jason. Heather, that's classless. It's tasteless. And Captain Jason has to be polite. He does not want you or any of these women. So Brittany is showing Bronwyn her Jared unicorn. This is strange, y'all. She has a unicorn that says, you are love, have a good night, or something like that in Jared's voice. So this grown man with all these kids recorded his voice telling this woman that she's loved. One of the stewards, the room stewards are unpacking for them, finds a huge cucumber. They didn't get to the bottom of it. Production is asking whose it is. Meredith is like, a cucumber? What would I be doing with a cucumber? Nobody knows whose it is or will admit to it. Angie was funny. She said, they're going to think it's mine because there are cucumbers in a Greek salad. I don't know if they're making a salad. I don't know what they're doing with it, but the stewards found this pretty funny. So Meredith is in her little captain's hat. I thought that was really cute. She said Bronwyn's going to show up acting like nothing happened, which is exactly what Bronwyn did. But Bronwyn was also pretty defensive, in my opinion. So Lisa is saying, I hope that we'll get some honesty out of Bronwyn. Remember, Lisa and Meredith are rooming together and they're having conversation about it. Lisa says, I think Bronwyn will just have different iterations of the truth, which turns out to be true. But Lisa, you want to talk. Lisa will lie in a minute too. So Bronwyn is in her room unpacking. Brittany wastes no time. She starts asking her questions about, why didn't you travel with us? Brittany, you know why Bronwyn didn't travel. She didn't want to ask these questions. The camera is focused on Brittany, y'all. She's already in a bikini top. I'll say this. Brittany's face does not match her body. Brittany's body is bodying. As the kids say, her body is tea. Go ahead, Brittany. So she is asking Bronwyn, is any of this true? Why would this stuff come out now? Bronwyn's lying. There's a current thing, and then the other thing is sealed. One of the things is not me. The other thing's not really me. Bronwyn's just making up all this stuff. She said the story changes 18 times. They were talking about Grand Theft Auto, identity theft. It's pretty disgusting. Production is putting up all the charges and kind of showing us what's being said. She said it's manipulative for people to dig and then put information out. Whitney is in her room. She's talking about it to Heather. And then we get Bronwyn again saying it's not public record. So there's no specific information they're talking about. It's just a lot of digging and then leaking. So, of course, they're going to start suspecting Lisa because Lisa has done this in the past. But I have my own theory on that. I think that Whitney has something to hide with her company, Wild Rose. That was in the news. Also, Heather may want to be the center of attention and appear to be this mediator, which she usually is. And Lisa has been caught doing stuff like this before. So I think that maybe this time Lisa's being framed. I don't know. We'll have to see. Bronwyn says, I have eviction papers from 20 years ago. I was 19 years old. I was having a baby. I went to California. I was kicked out of Brigham Young, and I did owe money. She says those things were a long time ago. Anything they're saying now is untrue. So Brittany is saying there's a current case, and Bronwyn was saying, no, that's from 10 years ago, and it's sealed. So this whole thing is confusing. We get a confessional with Bronwyn. She's in that jeweled dress with the jeweled necklace to match. She's saying identity theft, felony, all of it's part of the penal code. It's embarrassing. It's stressful to my family, especially Todd, because he has a serious job. He doesn't want me to fly halfway around the world to be with people that would leak this stuff. So they're already suspicious of Lisa. The staff is going around to each other, talking about this cucumber, speculating on whose it might be. The little girl that found it talking about, I don't know what to do with it. Excuse me. She said, I ended up putting it on their nightstand. So I don't know. I guess I'm glad they didn't bring it to the kitchen. I don't know. I wouldn't want it to get mixed in with the food because it was packed in the luggage with clothes. So these ladies are a trip. Production's asking Bronwyn, she's like, where would I get a cucumber from? So I don't know. How did it make it all the way over? Was it in carry-on? The whole thing is bizarre. So a beautiful salad is brought to the table. The ladies decide they're going to sit there and have a little bit of lunch, come out in their bikinis. I liked Angie's. Angie's had regular looking shorts, but a bikini top. And then Heather had beautiful coveralls. She's wearing a full-on bikini. Heather looks really good. Heather's in great shape now. I think she mentioned she was taking those shots. I'm not sure. But you can't just take the shots. You also have to work. Heather has her body in shape. She looks really good. Lisa had on a cute pink bikini top. I liked her shirt as a coverall. It was also a pink shirt. It matched it. Bronwyn had on pretty green. Everyone had on their cute shades. A few of the ladies weren't wearing shades. In that sun, they were saying it was like 100 degrees. You do need your shades because the squinting, that does cause lines. Meredith had a cute hat on. Mary was covered. I don't blame Mary because in that sun, it is tough on your skin. So Mary has on a full cover up, and then she also has a scarf around her hair and a straw hat. She looked cute. Bronwyn's still saying Todd was advising her not to go. There were people digging in her past. Whitney's just nodding her head in agreement. Meredith says, well, I'm seeing a lot of things. You know, Meredith is an attorney in one of her lives. She says, I'm seeing a lot of things that could be either the past few years to 20 years ago. It's best that you clear it up. Bron tells us again about 20 years ago, 19 years old, pregnant. Mary says, how's it showing up now? Why is it showing up now? Who would do that now? And Brittany says, I heard there are charges now. Bronwyn denies it. She said, these charges are not against me and they're sealed. They're not against me and they're sealed. So Bronwyn's going around in circle. Heather says, why seal the charges if they're not you? That made sense. Brown was talking in circles. Lisa says, nobody in the group would do that. We've been hanging out together a long time and nobody in the group would do that. Ironically, most of the group thinks that Lisa did it. So I don't know. Lisa's saying, I don't think it's weird. I mean, you dug stuff on me, but I wouldn't do this. And I don't think nobody would do that to you. She said, you brought up stuff when I wasn't there. That is true. First episode, Angie K kind of set Bronwyn up like, well, have you heard what's going on? I think Whitney was talking as well. And then Bronwyn brought up the lawsuits. So we have Brittany mouthing 4 lawsuits. She's saying 4 lawsuits. And Heather is saying, pipe down, Lisa. You are revealing yourself, because Lisa is still speaking loudly saying, who would do that? Who would do that? Heather is saying Lisa's putting two to two together and getting 4. So Mary says, you suspect one single person. It's not some random person. Who do you think it is? Bronwyn said, I'm not saying anyone. Bronwyn, you lying. You think it's Lisa. Bronwyn said, it would really bother me if someone in this group would do that after we were making up. So I get that. She said, I don't think we should do that to each other. Heather says, who do you think it came from? Bronwyn says, I'm not going to say this. I'm not going to accuse anybody. But after Amy's, it intensified. You know, Amy, the Salt Lake City socialite that is trying to get in the group, but the group is too wild and vulgar, and sometimes she can't really find her way in. That Amy at the party. Lisa's saying, we didn't do anything to you. I didn't do anything to you. This sounds like an accusation. Bronwyn is saying, I'm not saying that you did it, Lisa starts yelling, who's selling stuff about me to the Salt Lake City Tribune, to the different papers, the blogs? Who's doing that about me? She said, it's hot. It's 100 degrees. Let's just go get in the water. I agree with Lisa. So they decide to go swimming. They get in the water. The staff brings out all these water sports, equipment. There's a swan. There is a duck. Lisa keeps saying, Brittany's on this duck. And production keeps telling us it's a swan. It looked like a lot of fun. Even Angie K, who has been sick, she said, Whitney tells me if I get in the water, I'll feel better. So Angie K is trying to tiptoe down the steps and get on another. They have a little boat that you kind of sit out in. They have different floaty toys that they get on. Some of them jump right in the water and swim. Mary stays on the deck to watch the ladies. Mary get in the water, but she doesn't. I don't blame Mary. She doesn't want to. She doesn't have to, but she's watching them. So Heather says, take a thirst shot of me. I told y'all Heather's looking good. Heather lay down with her belly on the boat that they're on. They get onto a smaller vessel, and Whitney slaps her on the bottom. They're having fun. She takes her thirst trap for her. Mary's looking. She said, oh, I think Angie's going to barf. Indeed, the camera focuses in on Angie, and Angie is through her fingers. Production, you don't have to. This was gross. They show it, and she's getting sick through her fingers into the water. Staff is trying to help her. We have Bronwyn and Whitney sneak back to the cabin. Now, remember, Bronwyn is sharing with Brittany. Whitney has not been in the cabin. So when they sneak back to the cabin, they're still talking. Bronwyn picks up the Jared unicorn and presses the feet, and then it says, you are loved. Good night, or whatever he says. And Whitney's like, oh my God, who is he? Is that Jared? She said she's supposed to be on a 30-day fast from him. Yuck. And Bronwyn's laughing. She said, if this goes off in the middle of the night, my sleep paralysis will just kick in. Brittany is back at the bar. She got back on the boat. So I guess it was hot out there. She's flirting with the guy with the British accent. He's making her drinks. He's like, what do you do? I'm a real estate developer. I'm a real estate developer. I buy homes and then I sell them. I develop real estate. She said it about 4 times. So Whitney and Bronwyn are in the room. Bronwyn is still teasing about even rooming with Brittany. So she is saying, I have red flags. I have clues that it's Lisa. Lisa called me Conwyn. And then there was a blogger that put stuff out, same thing that Lisa said. And Whitney's like, now Whitney is too interested in this. That's just why I suspect Whitney a little bit. It could be Whitney. And I don't think that, production showed when Lisa said that she didn't say Conwyn, she called her Fraudwyn. We see Lisa calling her a liar. A lot of this stuff did happen at Amy's party. So this is a mess. Good morning, Gigi. I'm so glad to see you in a live. She's saying good morning to myself in the chat. This is the Salt Lake City review, season 6, episode 7. These ladies are out on this yacht and they're getting ready to keep an argument going that they could have handled before they left. So thanks for coming into the live. So Whitney is saying Lisa's getting sloppy because we can track all of these different cues to her and all these red flags. And then how does she know that no one would do that? Remember, Lisa kept saying, no one would do that. And I'm starting to think Whitney wants to turn the attention away from her because she's kind of like, she's egging Bronwyn on. And these clues that she's giving are not really clues. This is how Lisa acts all the time, wild and crazy. So it could be her, it could be Whitney, it could be Heather, it could be Lisa. But to me, this is just too obvious to be Lisa, but we'll keep watching. We see Lisa in her cabin on the phone with John. I miss you. He misses her. She's telling him how pretty the yacht is. Whitney and Heather are now gossiping. Heather is saying, well, who do you think it was? Yeah, Lisa does have a lot of information that drops. So then Whitney's saying, every time we get together, if Lisa has something against someone, information leaks. She's done it to me, to you, to Meredith, to Bronwyn. So Whitney is like listing all of the women that this has happened to. And then Heather says, now Lisa and Heather are supposed to be friends. I thought they were making up. Heather says, Lisa is smarter and darker than anybody can imagine. She looks things up. So Heather, that was kind of two-faced. She keeps a scorecard. Heather is looking just like the Joker, y'all. I see why Mary called her inbred that time. I felt like this was kind of sinister, especially especially this being her trip, y'all. And this is going to factor in later too. So she says, Lisa does her BS, and anybody who knows the group knows that Lisa does this. So we get Heather in a confessional saying, this has been going on between Lisa and Bronwyn. Production shows us in New York. Lisa brings up that she called the jeweler, and the jeweler said Bronwyn had lied about purchasing the necklace. Indeed, Bronwyn did lie about purchasing the necklace, but I thought Lisa was out of line for calling. I did. Thank you so much, Mama Bees. Please hit the like button, subscribe, share the video, keep the channel in the algorithm. Thank you. I thank you, and I thank those of you that are here during the live, and also Team Replay for doing all those things. Hit the like button, subscribe if you're not, and share. Thank you so much. So then after we see the production showing the scene of Lisa busting Bronwyn about lying on that necklace, we see Lisa at the party with Amy's party. She's asking the lady, so did you know Bronwyn and Todd in San Francisco? The lady knew them. Lisa says, does everybody like Todd? We know Lisa can't stand Todd. At that same party, she called Todd Gout-D, and Todd wasn't even bothering anybody. Do people like Todd in San Francisco? The lady says, is this where I plead the fifth? Heather, the camera focuses on her. Heather is back there while her friend is being talked about. She doesn't step in. She doesn't say now's not the time. She doesn't say it to her face. She's sitting back there with her Joker smile. So Heather, I'm not trusting you, Heather. She didn't butt in. She just let Lisa keep talking and keep digging. So now the ladies go back out to the area where they're going to have dinner. Heather tells the lady that Angie needs her sea legs. Angie K has retired to her cabin. She is not well at all. Angie K and Mary have decided, well, Angie K didn't decide, she's sick. Every time she gets up and feels that movement, she's running to the toilet. So Mary is going to stay in the room and have her dinner in the room. Solidarity with her, because Angie K is really sick. We see a scene where Captain Jason goes in. He kind of ices down Angie K. So I don't know, did she have fever as well? I'm not sure. But Angie says, I don't mind staying in the room, especially I've got you with me, Mary. All these people are taking care of me. So I agree with Angie. So Mary says, oh, this is the dinner? Where's the rest of it? You know, they're serving in courses. So Mary gets this first little course. The sous chef comes out. She introduced the first course of the meal. Looks like some type crunchy bread and some kind of dip, little salad with it. It looked really good. So Brittany says, well, I don't miss Angie and Mary's commentary. And Heather has the nerve to say, you can only ish talk someone if they're here. You can only ish talk them in front of their face. Now, keep in mind, Heather's been going around all day in little conversations talking about Lisa. But in front of the group, she claims the person has to be there to talk about them. Brittany has the nerve to claim, I'm the only one that talk ish in front of somebody. I'm the only one that talks in front of people's face. So Bronwyn pipes up. She says, you have people here that you feel a different way about. You haven't said anything. Bronwyn's making mischief. I haven't seen this part of Bronwyn since this season, episode 1. She says, you think that Meredith goes from 0 to 100. And then production shows us a scene where Bronwyn and Brittany go shopping. Brittany's trying clothes. She's just talking. Bronwyn's standing back looking. I guess her news had broke because now she's looking for something else to bring back. Well, Meredith has been really supportive of you. I think she has. She's been really supportive. And Bronwyn started talking junk about Meredith. Really supportive. She goes so crazy. She almost has seizures. She does that all the time. She goes 0 to 100. Bronwyn's like, she's been kind of a big sis to you. Big sis, I don't see it. Brittany should be smarter than this. And then Bronwyn tells Meredith that Meredith goes crazy, y'all. She said 0 to 100, pretend to have seizures. I've never pretended to have seizures. And then she starts glitching. Meredith does do that, y'all. She says the only person that's had a seizure is one of my children. Meredith, don't do that, because now we're wondering which one. We know Brooks and Chloe from this show and from Next Gen NYC. Meredith said, that's a horrible thing to say. You've done horrible things, Britt. You stop it right now. Production shows us Britt indeed doing kind of terrible things. The first episode, she's the one that brought up Wild Rose. She said, Whitney, your business has a lot of stuff going on. She says, you've recorded people. Production shows us Brittany recording the ladies in the van. Meredith telling her, you can leave. So Brittany does do a lot of stuff. She gets away with it by acting really ditzy. So then Meredith says, Brittany, you're going to stop. She picks up water to throw it, and she does dash it at Britt. She gets Britt pretty good. Britt tries to throw water back on Meredith, but I was looking, and it looked like she was going to pick up wine first, but she didn't throw the wine, thank goodness, because that ruined outfits. She picked up water. She tried to throw it back at Meredith, and it looked like Meredith kind of deflected it. So, Meredith, what you got going on? Bronwyn ended up soaked. She was sitting in the middle. But I wasn't mad because Bronwyn started this argument. So Heather's in a confessional laughing. She said, Meredith, turn on your hearing aid. She didn't say Jared this time. Meredith thought that was funny. So production is showing us all of the stuff that Britta said about Meredith, because I was wondering why they were getting into it so hot and heavy, but they were. They do have a history. And then Heather is giving this little speech. We are privileged women. Nobody needs to pile on to anyone else. And then production shows us Mary and Angie K. They're quietly in their room. Mary's like, I'm blessed. This food is so good. Angie can't eat. She's like, that sounds crunchy. She said, you are blessed. So their room is kind of like bliss compared to what's going on outside. And then Mary says, I think I hear Whitney. So Whitney and them are arguing. They're going into all kind of stuff. So now the second course of the dinner is trying to come out, y'all. Chef Ben, you know how the sous chef introduced the first course, but now things have gotten started. Heather ends up saying to Lisa, I think you're the source of the dirt. Lisa goes into a frenzy. You think I'm the source of the dirt? She gets up, she starts screaming. So when Ben comes out, even Captain Jason was helping carry out the trays for dinner. Ben is supposed to introduce, this is a salmon rub. He doesn't get to say a word. He's standing there. All the staff is waiting there. He's like, can I serve this to you? They're all yelling at each other, mainly Heather, Lisa. I think Brittany was still going off a little bit. Whitney's piping up. This was terrible. Even after Heather saying, oh, we're going to respect Captain Jason. Captain Jason is standing there holding plates. So they just put the stuff down, and Ben was like, I'm not putting up with this crap. Y'all, when the staff was walking back to the kitchen, Captain Jason told his staff, I was going to eat with them, but I'm not going back out there. Heather, you played yourself on your own trip. That was just disgraceful. Dinner is served. The ladies are still arguing. I hate the fact that they're in this beautiful location arguing over this food. Bronwyn is still lying, saying that the charges are sealed and that they're not her. Angie looked sick. Angie was very sick on that bed, and I noticed that she didn't even eat. They have whatever they want to cook at their discretion, whatever they have sourced. I'm sure she could have had broth or something. I didn't see her eating anything, which I'm sure Mary was glad, because Mary's trying to enjoy her dinner. And with Angie jumping up to go hit the toilet, that would have grossed me out. So now Lisa is crying because Heather's told her she believes she's the source of the dirt. Why would you say that about me? She's got her cry face on with no tears, but I guess she is upset. And then she said, what would you all talk about if I'm not here? You're lucky I even talked to any of you. I kind of agree with her when she said, what would they talk about if she's not there? But I don't know what she means that they're lucky that she talks to them. She thinks that she's better than them. So the ladies are still yelling, Heather, you looked a complete fool in front of Captain Jason. The fact that this man couldn't even come out on his luxury yacht and have dinner with the high profile guests because y'all are acting wild, and chase Chef Ben back into the kitchen. Whitney jumped up. You are the source of the dirt. Every time you get into it with somebody, information leaks. I put a note, Whitney, stop jumping up and around the table, because she did. Whitney jumped up. They're all yelling. They're all pointing. Whitney jumped up and goes around to Lisa. And Lisa says, stay away from me. Whitney doesn't respect boundaries. She's still fussing at Lisa. Lisa jumps up, goes around to Heather because they're all yelling. And she puts Heather's face in her hand like, I'm not the source of the dirt. Why do you think that? Lisa, that's dangerous. Don't touch anyone in the source of an argument. They go back onto Bronwyn's charges. Bronwyn only admits to being evicted at 19. I have a note. A single mother being evicted is not tea. That's not funny. It's 20 years ago. That's kind of disgusting. And Whitney, I think you are the one that put that out. Because there are some things that they share with each other when they get close. And then on Mad Day, they tell other people about it or they leak. So I think that's really terrible. Lisa's yelling. Whenever people tell me something, I don't always tell it. Lisa, you tell it on yourself. We get a confessional from Heather saying, Lisa, you are telling on yourself. You're protesting too much. Lisa says, I could be going to get MFing Diet Coke. And they're telling me stuff about these MFing B's. So Lisa is cursing her face off. She's shouting. She's like, shut the F up about me. Mary's in the room with Angie K saying, do you hear Whitney and Lisa? Angie K is like, no, I don't hear anything. Angie did look sick, Sharon. She looks sick. So Lisa sits back down. Whitney goes back to her seat. We don't have Mary out there telling him, sit down. I don't know why they're jumping up. So Lisa gets up again to tell her, I'm coming near you. And then she's like, no, you get away. And then they're both shooing each other away like this, Whitney and Lisa, shooing in each other's face. This is crazy. So Lisa says, I'm going to call John. I can't take this. This is not fair. Lisa starts going down the steps and she's like, and don't you follow me, B. Heather, who has no boundaries either, saying, this is terrible. You've ruined the whole dinner. I'm going to follow you. She wants to follow Lisa down the steps. If you've watched, or if you watched the tour or you watched Below Deck Mediterranean, this is a 3-story yacht. Lisa's bounding down the steps. This is not safe, y'all. Heather's bounding after her. The poor staff comes out with a wet, dry vac, y'all, trying to mop up the water so the vacuum sound is going like, zzz. I don't know how anybody's enjoying their dinner. Brittany's eating. Meredith is eating. The rest of them are going crazy. So Heather is still accusing Lisa. Lisa is saying, stay away from me. She runs down the steps. And y'all, that was the end of the episode. So we're going to pick up next week where they leave off. And I think earlier they were like recounting the days. It said Heather's yacht trip, day 1. Y'all, that was day 1. All the ladies did was arrive, get their tour, kind of settle in, have a few water sports, had a beautiful lunch, had a beautiful dinner, and then the arguing started. So this is crazy. They're going to do 4 days of this. And remember, they flew 15 hours to get here. So this is too much. This is what they're doing, y'all. Again, this is season 6. This is episode 7. And again, Above Deck and Below the Belt. So this is going to be so interesting. I want to see how that unicorn ends up in the water. I want to see what has Captain Jason calling for a mayday. And one of the other staff ran into the kitchen saying, they are literally killing each other. I think that's the little girl that found the cucumber. So these women came in there and they're trying to blow this yacht out of the water, y'all. This is crazy. So I give it a 10 out of 10, just for the travel scenes, the different things we have going on. Now my brain has been kind of triggered by Heather. I'm not sure Lisa is the source of the dirt. I'm kind of suspicious now of not only Heather, but Whitney as well. Because I don't know, some things, I thought that Whitney and Brahman were a little closer, but I think they're just united in wanting to get Lisa for something. Lisa has been so terrible for so many years. I think any one of the ladies kind of want to get her accused of something. And she might be guilty of something, but I don't know if she's guilty of this. So we're going to see what's going to happen. Brittany and Meredith with that blow up. Finally, we get Meredith not being a cool customer. Meredith is standing up screaming, throwing water on people, dodging and weaving water. Go ahead, Meredith. So, oh yeah. Sharon Gobble said, it's about to get ugly. I give it an 8. Okay, so your 8 to my 10, they are still an A+. That's a 9. That's 90%. Y'all, if you haven't seen this episode, it is worth watching. It was really good this week. This is the Real Housewives of Salt Lake City, y'all. So I think my next review is going to be the Braxtons. I'm aiming for Saturday on that one because that shows Friday night. Of course, I don't celebrate Halloween, but these kids will be knocking anyway, so I got to have something to give out to them. But I think Saturday night will be a good time for me to do the Braxtons. So watch that. That's worth watching. That is heating up. So it's going to be episode 4. And then Monday morning, I'll review Real Housewives of Potomac. I'll drop Golden Bachelor, The Ladies Tell All somewhere in there. I had a pre-recorded. I'll probably do another pre-recorded. But thank you all that came in during the live. Thank you so much for Team Replay. Please like, please share. If you're not already subscribed, go ahead and subscribe. I am Sandra P. Over here at Gen Extra. Sharon is saying, see ya. She gave the episode an 8. With my 10, we gave it an A. Okay, so that's a 90. I will see you all in the YouTube streets. Have a great day, everybody. Goodbye.